한국어 영어 반반 팟캐스트 하프앤하프의 정태용입니다. 반갑습니다.
And I'm Katrina, and this is Half and Half.
이번 주의 주제는 굉장히 특이한 주제라고 생각하거든요.
Yeah, last time we were speaking, it came up briefly. You
네.
asked me, do you think that you're lucky? Is I
그렇죠.
think what you asked me. And I was like,
네.
yeah, I think I'm lucky. And, yeah, I think we both thought it's a pretty good topic. There's probably a lot to say about it. Maybe some cultural differences, maybe just some personal differences. I think it'll be fun.
네, 그 운이라는 것에 대해서 각자가 생각하는 각자의 운이 좋냐 나쁘냐, 그리고 또
Yeah.
뭐 그냥 전반적인 운에 대한 생각을 얘기를 해보죠.
Yeah.
네,
So
재밌을
first
것
of
같아요.
all, yeah. So first of all, do you think you're lucky?
저는 한참 안 좋다가 몇 년 전부터 좋아진 것 같아요.
See, that's actually similar to how I feel about my luck. Like
그래요?
it's improved over the until I was 25, I was definitely not someone
네.
I would consider lucky.
오.
Like I don't know. I felt like by the time I got to 25, I thought I was basically a loser and a failure. And I hadn't
네.
had a lot of
네.
luck.
네.
But it's
어,
gotten a lot better in the
그래요?
last couple of decades. Yeah.
25살?
Yeah, 25. Well, I basically have the memory of thinking, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm 25 and I have achieved nothing. I'm such a loser.
그래요?
Yeah.
아씨, 나는 31살인데 그러고 있는데 어떡하지? 아씨, 마음이 급하네.
No. So yeah, no. When I was 25, I felt like
네.
I thought, oh my gosh, now I'm so old. Like now if I'm a loser now, it's never gonna happen. Like how am I ever gonna do anything worth doing when I'm already old?
25살 때 뭐 하고 있었어요? 대학교 그때 들어갔나?
I had just finished spending 4 years trying to get into one of the top schools in Europe for circus acrobats.
네?
I had failed like over and over again. I kept trying and I kept failing. And it's a really
서커스라고요?
Yeah.
서커스?
Yep. Yeah, so I had a windy path. I think one of the reasons I think that maybe I wasn't lucky growing up, or I felt like I wasn't lucky growing up, is I didn't realize that you can make choices. I didn't realize that you can decide to do one thing or the other or something completely different. I was always like just seeing what arrived and then picking out of the things that were in front of me. And so I ended up doing a lot of weird things just because that's what happened to be in front of me.
근데 그러니까 그때는 서커스 말고 다른 길이 없다고 느낀 거예요?
I kind of ended up, it's. I'm not even sure we should get into it, but like I kind of ended up down a windy path that felt like more and more of a dead end, and I didn't know how to get out of it. And eventually, I just like stopped. I was like, hang on, I could just go to university and get a normal degree and a normal job, and we can go from there. And actually, that's the moment when I feel like my luck turned around, is when I realized that I can actually make a decision to change things. Yeah. So how about you? You said that you felt like your luck was not so good and that it's gotten better. Tell me more about that.
이것도 너무 긴 얘기가 될 것 같은데 이게 사실 진짜 너무 복잡한 이야기거든요. 이게 제 개인적인 이야기를 넘어서 좀 사회적인 흐름도 관련이 있는 것 같아요.
Okay.
뭐 예를 들면 제가 고등학생 때 대학교 들어갈 준비할 나이 때 그때 제 또래 나이들의 그 애들이 제일 많았어요.
Wait, so is that because the year you were born, that's just the year that there were the most number of babies born in Korea? Like there was
네,
something like that?
네네네. 그런
Okay.
걸로 알고 있어요.
Okay.
그래서 제가 고등학교 졸업하면서 대학교에 들어가는 걸 준비할 때 경쟁이 가장 치열했어요.
Yeah, that makes sense.
네, 경쟁이 가장 치열했고 한창 그때쯤부터 한국 사회가 굉장히 그 경쟁 사회
Yeah.
그리고 비교하는 문화 그게 확 커졌어요.
Wow. And so did they not make more room at the university? Was it still the same number of spots, just more people trying to get those spots? Is that what happened?
아니, 대학교는 엄청 많이 생겼죠.
Right.
근데 좋은 대학교에 들어가야
yeah.
인정을 받으니까.
Fair.
뭐 아무튼 그런 사례가 하나 있고 그리고 또 저는 어릴 때부터 몸이 되게 안 좋았어요.
Yeah, you said you had had some pretty severe surgeries.
네네. 그래서
Yeah.
중학교 3학년 때부터 고등학교 졸업할 때까지
Yeah.
그 가슴 쪽에 좀 큰 수술을 5번이나 받았거든요.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's a lot.
네네. 그래서 고등학생 때 거의 막 체육 활동 막 이런 것도 거의 못 하고 그래서 좀 비참한 좀 청소년기를 보냈죠.
Wait a second. Run that by me one more time. You said it's because you couldn't do
네.
so much physical activity. What was it that happened?
아 그래서
Yeah.
그래서 비참한
What does that mean?
비참하다. 되게 희망이 없고 되게 슬프고 주눅들고
Oh.
굉장히 기분이 막 다운되고
Yeah.
그런 네 비참한 느낌.
Okay.
그 희망이 없는 느낌. 아무튼
Yeah. Did you also spend a lot of time in hospitals and away from school? Like, did you miss a lot of classes and have to do a lot of catch-up work, or were you mostly able to keep up with school?
한 번 그렇게 수술을 하면
Yeah.
한 짧게는 일주일, 길게는 한 2, 3주까지 입원을 했거든요.
Oh, okay.
네, 그리고 제가 다니던 학교는 산속에 있는 작은 기숙사 학교였어요.
What does that mean?
기숙사 학교.
Is that where you're like you live in a dorm? Like you live
맞아요.
away from your parents? Okay.
네네, 맞아요.
Yeah.
그러니까 근데 제가 입원하는 병원은 서울에 있는 큰 병원이라
Right. Whereas you were in Busan,
아니요,
the
또
school.
병원은 서울에 있었어요. 그리고 학교는 또 다른 곳에 있었어요. 부산도 아니고.
Okay. Yeah. That's the what I was
네.
wondering where the school was.
아.
Yeah.
뭐 그래서 당연히 학교도 많이 빠지고
Yeah.
그랬죠. 근데 제가 공부를 고등학생 때 진짜 열심히 했거든요.
Yeah.
그래서 공부를 좀 잘하긴 했어요.
Right.
그러니까 만약에 내가 몸이 아프지 않았더라면
야.
그래서 학교 수업을 다 듣고 꼬박꼬박 다 할 걸 다 했더라면 내가 더 잘할 수 있지 않았을까 이런 생각도 들었었고
Yeah, that makes
네.
sense.
근데 그게 또 하나의 예고.
Yeah.
뭐 덕분에 군대는 그 현역으로 안 가고 공익으로
Yeah.
갔네요.
So you gained back a little bit of time thanks to
네네.
not having to go there.
네, 군대는 뺐네 그렇게. 아무튼
Yeah.
그 이후로도 그냥 뭐가 다 잘 안 풀려서,
Yeah.
뭐 하고 싶은 거 해보려고 해도 다 잘 안 되고
Yeah.
그렇게 그 20대 내내 그냥 그냥 파트타임 잡 아르바이트만 전전하다가
Right.
그러다가 그 한국어 선생님 해봐야지 싶어서 그 자격증을 딴 게 20대 후반이거든요.
Mm-hmm.
네, 근데 그마저도 자격증 따자마자 코로나가 터져서
That's also not the best of luck with your timing there, right?
그렇죠.
Yeah.
그때도 내 인생은 왜 이럴까 이러다가
Yeah.
그때 한 1, 2년 또 그렇게 암흑기를 거치고 뭐라도 해야 되겠다 막 뭐 좀 더 좀 뭔가 좀 잘하고 싶다 싶은 마음에 유튜브를 했는데
Yeah.
그때부터 좀 제 인생에서 경험해보지 못한 운들이 좀 생겼어요.
That's really great. That's really interesting. So what was when you first started doing YouTube, what was the feeling that you had that led you to do it? Was it a sort of desperation, or was it more playful of like, oh, let's just try this and maybe that'll work? Or was it something else?
카트리나가 물어본 그 두 가지 극단에서는 좀 더 안 좋은 쪽, 그러니까 막 마음이 급하고
Right.
뭐라도 해야 하고
Yeah.
그쪽에 더 가까웠어요.
Yeah.
네, 근데 어쩔 수 없었어요 그때는.
Yeah. But how does it feel now?
지금은요.
Yeah.
근데 지금도 내가 운이 조금만 더 좋았더라면,
Yeah.
내가 조금만 뭐 능력이 뛰어났더라면,
Right.
내가 조금만 더가 아니라 내가 그냥 잘생겼더라면,
Don't we all?
그러니까 저의 조건이 뭔가 달랐더라면,
Right.
지금 내가 하는 거보다 훨씬 더 반응이 좋을 것 같은데, 막 더 결과가 좋을 것 같은데, 막 이런 생각을 하긴 해요.
Yeah.
근데 종종 믿기지가 않아요.
So, what is it you don't believe?
저한테 유튜브 시작하고 나서 벌어진 좋은 일들이 믿기지가 않아요. 가끔씩 이렇게 됐다고, 이렇게나 좋게 됐다고, 이런 식으로.
Okay. So that's a good thing.
진짜 좋은 거죠.
Yeah. Cool. So, do you think that luck? Okay. What's the difference between luck and fate?
운과 운명? 운명은 좀 정해져 있다는 느낌이 들지 않나요?
Right. Like there's something unescapable about fate, right?
그렇죠. 내가 뭘 어떻게 하든 정해진 방향으로 가는 느낌?
Yeah.
네.
Yeah. Whereas luck feels a lot more, I guess, random.
맞아요.
It feels like one day maybe you're lucky, a different day maybe you're not, I guess.
그런 것 같아요.
Yeah.
좀 더 이벤트성이 큰 느낌?
Yeah. Do you think that, so you said that you feel luckier now, especially after you started doing YouTube. Do you think that that there's anything you can do to change your luck? Or are you sort of at the mercy of whatever luck is thrown at you?
지난 경험에서요?
Yeah, so
아니면 그냥 지금도? 네.
Yeah, now as well. Do you think there's anything you can do, or is it just like whatever luck happens?
분명히 있는 것 같아요.
Right.
있는 것 같은데 제가 그게 뭔지 알면 참 좋겠는데.
Which is why we're having this conversation.
네.
Awesome.
네.
Cool. Yeah. So there's a researcher. There's a psychologist who spent over 10 years studying luck. And it's super fascinating. It's very, very interesting. So I thought we should talk a little bit about that today.
네.
Yeah. So his name is Richard Wiseman, and he's from the UK. I think, I can't remember what schools he's worked at and everything. He was in Scotland for a while, and I think he's based in London now. And he's written, he's very interesting. Like, he's just an interesting person. Before he became a professor, he was a magician, like a stage magician doing magic. And he worked in places where it's hard to get it's hard to be accepted to be on stage. It can be very competitive sometimes.
그쵸.
And so he's worked in places where if you know about the magic world and like how that works, and he tells you places he's worked, you'll be like, oh my gosh, you did that. That's very cool. And then later he became a psychology professor, and he's done lots of really interesting research. And among that research, he spent 10 years researching luck.
Wow.
And so the interesting thing is that the way that he started researching luck is he put out a notice in the newspaper. And he said, do you feel like you're extremely unlucky or extremely lucky? If you feel like you're at the extreme end of luck, either very, very unlucky or very, very lucky, please get in touch. And so he has studied hundreds of people who feel like they're extremely unlucky or extremely lucky.
아니 그렇게 뉴스에 그 당신이 정말 운이 좋거나 나쁘다고 생각하면 저에게 꼭 연락을 주십시오. 이렇게 광고를 내면 그 100명 정도가 답을 줬다고요?
So I don't know how many at first, but over the course of 10 years, he studied hundreds of people.
아 그러면 한 달에 한 명 정도 되는 꼴이네요?
I don't know. Yeah, I have no idea. And it might be like, depending on what type of study they're doing, what types of activities or like how the research is designed, it might depend. Like it might be lots and lots of people one month and just a few people a different month.
네.
So one of the things I wanted to tell you about is one of the research studies that he did with these very, very lucky and very, very unlucky people who said that they felt that they were either lucky or unlucky.
네.
He gave them a newspaper and he said, please count the number of pictures in this newspaper.
네.
And then they timed them and said, how long did it take you to count all the pictures? The people who were unlucky, on average, it took them maybe 2 minutes to count all the pictures in the newspaper.
네.
So about 2 minutes if you're unlucky. If you're lucky, it took only a few seconds.
네.
But this is people who they felt like they were lucky. And it just took, so it's a very objective measure, right? How long did it take you to find out exactly how many pictures are in the newspaper?
네.
And here's the difference. On page 2 of the newspaper, you open up the newspaper, there was a half-page ad, a very big ad. It took up half of the page. And it said, stop counting. There are 43 pictures in the newspaper.
네.
People who felt like they were lucky, they saw it.
네.
People who didn't feel like they were lucky, felt like they were unlucky, they didn't see it. They were busy counting. And so they counted all the way to the end. Farther along in the newspaper, about the halfway mark, there was like, tell the researcher that there are 43 pictures in the newspaper and we'll give you £250. We'll give you money.
네, 네.
But they didn't see it. They just kept counting.
네.
Yeah. So, and they did lots of experiments like this so maybe they would say, the experiment is you have to be interviewed. So please go to room number, 502 for the interview. 네. And what they would do is they would put like a 10-pound note, like money, like the paper money, a bill on the ground in the corridor where they were going to walk. So they would walk past this money that was lying on the floor to go to the room to be interviewed.
네.
Of course, by the time they get to the room to be interviewed, the experiment is over because the experiment was, did they see the money or not? And again, the lucky people tended to see it and the unlucky people tended to not see it.
네.
Right?
그러면 관찰력이 운이랑 연관이 있다는 말인가요?
Yes, in a way. So it's not directly attention, it's that the people who so they found 4 factors that are have something to do with luck. So when you have a varying degree, like if you have more of this kind of personality, or even not just personality, but if you behave more in this way, you become luckier, basically. And there are 4 different things that they found. And so the first of these is related to attention. Yeah, it's related to attention in a way, but it's more about deliberately being open to variety. Like it's a type of flexibility of like, you might, when you go to work, you might walk a different path.
네.
Or when you go to a restaurant, you might try something on the menu that you never tried before.
네.
Like, or you might talk to someone. You go to a cafe and you talk to someone kind of randomly that you don't know. And because you're doing things, it's not always the same things over and over. You're open to all of these little opportunities that happen all the time.
새로운
And you
기회에
start, yeah, so you start noticing all these little opportunities around you.
근데 그 deliberately라고 했잖아요. 그 되게
So-
그냥 빠르게 그냥 확 그걸 체크한다는 말이에요?
No, so deliberately is, I meant just you do it on purpose. Now, some people do it just because that's how they are. So I know people who are extroverted, they will talk to anybody at any time just because they like people. I'm
네.
not like that.
아,
But
네.
I mean, I do enjoy talking to people. So I will, if there's someone who's doing something interesting, I will maybe contact them and ask a question. Like that's how I got to know you, as I asked you a question.
맞아요.
I just sent you an email and asked something.
네.
And I'll do that a lot. And of course, most people, there will be just that interaction or they don't even respond. But sometimes, like, so, you know, several years later, we'll be doing a podcast together or we'll write a book together or,
그렇네요.
you know, exactly.
맞네.
So, yeah.
맞네. 카트리나가 그때 제 팟캐스트 아니 처음 유튜브
Yeah.
구독자 한 50명도 안 될 때 저한테 메일 보내줬을 거예요 아마.
Yeah.
엄청 처음에.
Yeah. And I think you only had done the TPRS videos at that point. It was like the black, yeah, some of the first videos that you did were TPRS 1,
맞아요.
TPRS episode 2.
네.
And I think I contacted you and said, do you do TPRS live lessons?
맞아요. 수업
Because I
하냐고.
felt like I was a beginner, even though I understand well. And because I felt like I couldn't speak at all, I was like, maybe I could do live lessons doing TPRS and maybe that would help. And so I just contacted you and asked if you did live lessons.
근데 그거 라이브 수업으로 하려면 목이 너무 아파서 계속 내가 계속 말해야 돼서.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's much better to make
네.
one video and then
그렇죠,
thousands of
그렇죠.
people can watch it whenever.
네네. 아무튼.
Yeah. So
그래서
thinking about that in
네.
terms, yeah, so deliberately, I just mean that they do it on purpose. And it might just be that that's the way they are. Or like me, having read about luck and realizing that it's useful to try new things and be open to not just focusing on the one plan that I had, like being open to changing my plans, being open to trying something unexpected. Because I know that that's a useful thing to do, I know that doing that is a factor in being luckier. I'm willing to do that, even though my personality is very much do the same thing every day, stay home, don't talk to people.
그 생각을 유연하게 한다는 거죠. 네, 꼭 이거 하나 하면 이것만 딱 하는 게 아니라 뭐 언제든지 계획은 바뀔 수도 있고.
Exactly.
그게 두 번째예요?
So that was the first one. Yeah, so it's the
이게
first one. It's about the flexibility of seeing opportunities, noticing opportunities, or being flexible about what you choose to do. Like having, I guess, welcoming to some degree randomness into your life. Being okay with having things be a little bit random or unexpected.
네.
So going back to you starting YouTube, is there something that, does this ring true for you? Do you feel like you have been more open to trying new things or doing random things after you started your first YouTube channel than before?
네. 사실 한국어 선생님 하려고 했을 때부터 쭉 그랬죠, 저는.
Right.
네, 처음에 유튜버가 될 생각을 하나도 안 하고
Yeah.
그냥 외국 가서 일하면서 살고 싶다는 생각에 한국어 선생님을 했다가 외국에 나가기가 어려워져서
Yeah.
그러면 뭐라도 해야 되겠다 싶어서 유튜브를 한 건데 그 유튜브도 뭐 이런 컨텐츠를 해야지라고 해서 시작했다가
Right.
조금 다른 방향의 더 좋은 컨텐츠 아이디어가 생겨서
Right.
그걸 또 바로 시작해보고
Yeah.
네 그랬었어요.
Yeah. And I think that flexibility is what made your channel as popular as it is, because you've been able to react to what people how people like your videos, or just the ideas that you have. You're open to trying new things. I think that's been an important factor in your channel's success.
그게 카트리나의 경우는 그 서커스 학교 말고 그 분자 생물학 대학교로 간 거예요?
Yeah, so for me, randomness wasn't the problem, because I grew up, my parents were both hippies, and so I was bombarded with randomness from a very young age. So everything was always changing. Everything was always chaos. And so for me, randomness wasn't the problem. It was realizing that I could choose to not follow the randomness. I could choose something different. I could deliberately walk away from an opportunity if I didn't actually want that opportunity, if that makes sense. So for me, it was more important to learn that if you're choosing between, so let's say that in my case, when I finished high school, I had the idea, I could go to France and go to this art school, this theater school. And to me, at that point, it felt like my choices were either go to the school or not go to the school. But that's not really a choice. That's just a choice of one thing, right? A choice is when you have more than one thing. And so it wasn't until I was 25 that I realized that, wait a second, even if there's just one thing in front of me, I can go look for other things. And so that's when my luck started turning.
그 히피 부모님들한테서 그렇게 그 무수한 랜덤을 겪으면서 깨달은 것 치고는 늦게 깨달은 편은 아닌가요?
That's right. Yes, I'm a little bit slow. Yeah, it feels late. Like, absolutely. It does feel like I should have learned that earlier. I would have benefited from learning that earlier. But I definitely had a tendency, like my personality is very much, if I'm focused on something, that's what I see. There's a video on the internet of a research project, a research experiment, where there are two teams, white t-shirts and black t-shirts, and they're throwing a basketball back and forth.
아, 고릴라 실험.
Yes.
맞죠.
Exactly. And so somebody did that one on me. They showed it to me and they said, count how many times the people with the black t-shirts pass the ball. And so I was busy counting. When the video ended, they asked me, did you see the gorilla? Did you see the man in the gorilla suit? And I was like, man in a gorilla suit? There was no.
네.
And they rewinded it and showed me again, and there he is walking straight through.
고릴라 막 이렇게도 하지 않아요? 막 이렇게.
Yeah,
그쵸.
He stops right in front of the camera and goes like that. Like, it's ridiculous. I did not see the gorilla. And so I think this is why I got to 25 before realizing that the way that I'm doing it doesn't have to be the way forever.
네, 좋습니다. 어쨌든, 그래도 25살엔 깨달아서.
Yeah, a little bit late, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I finally did get there. Yeah.
그래요.
Yeah.
네. 아무튼 그게
So that was number one.
첫 번째였고, 네.
That was number one. So that was being flexible about opportunities, noticing opportunities, and being willing to go the unplanned route.
네.
Yeah. So the second one that Dr. Wiseman and his team discovered was being willing to go with your gut feeling. So if you, it's this idea about intuition.
네.
It's like, I have a good feeling about this, or I have a bad feeling about this. And being willing to go with something just based on the feeling that you have. He said that lucky people tend to do that more than unlucky people.
네. 저는 그 영어 단어가 너무 마음에 들어요.
Oh, really?
gut feeling이라는 말이요.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
그 gut feeling의 gut이 그 내장 말하는 거 아니에요?
It is. Yeah, it's like the stomach and intestines area, your gut.
네, 네. 그러니까
Yeah.
이 내가 뭐 머리로 어떻게 생각하든 이 내 내장이 이걸 좋아하냐 안 좋아하냐 그 느낌이라는 거잖아요.
Yeah.
그러니까 전 그 단어가 너무 마음에 들더라고요. 너무
Yeah.
너무 직관적인 것 같아요.
Yeah.
어쨌든 그 직감이라고
Yeah.
해야 되나?
I think that's a pretty good
네,
term
네.
for it. Yeah. So how are you with your gut feeling? Do you tend to go with your gut feeling, or do you prefer to go with what your head says is right?
뭐 문제마다 조금은 다를 것 같은데 저는 gut feeling을 더 잘 따라가는 편인 것 같아요.
Yeah.
네, 뭐 주위에서 뭐 그게 될까? 뭐 그게 뭐 필요가 있나? 그걸 뭐 왜 하지? 이렇게 해도
Yeah.
제 생각에 이거는 느낌이 오는데 이러면
Yeah. Do you have any recent examples?
일단은 지금 이 팟캐스트가 그렇고
Right.
네네 주변에서 그게 꼭 필요할까? 막 그렇게 얘기를 했거든요.
Yeah.
근데 어쨌든 저는 너무 안 만들고 못 배길 것 같아서 시작을 했고
Yeah.
그리고 한국어 팟캐스트도 그랬던 것 같아요.
The All Things Korean podcast?
네네
Yeah.
그것도 그랬고
Yeah.
이게 될까 말까 될까 안 될까 의심은 있었는데 그래도 내가 하면 좀 잘 나올 것 같다 싶어서
Yeah. Yeah, and it's worked out well. How long have you been doing it now?
1년 좀 넘었어요.
And how many subscribers do you have?
지금 12,000명인가?
Oh, that's good.
네.
Yeah.
근데 뭐 되게 좋아해 주는 사람들이 있다는 게
Yeah.
네, 그게
Yeah,
뭐
that's good.
그게 뭐 성공이죠, 뭐.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I think I also lean towards acting on my intuition. Like,
네.
I will definitely go through rationally and evaluate things, but often I'm pretty quick to, even though I've evaluated it somewhat rationally, be quick to feel like it's good or not good, and I'm not sure I have a rational reason for it, and I'll go with it anyway. Yeah.
그런 사례가 있나요, 경험이?
Yeah, so last year I got an email from Johnson from SpongeMind podcast. And
네네.
I didn't even realize he had a podcast. I had contacted, I had heard him on an interview like years ago, and I had contacted the person who did the interview with a couple of questions, and they had sent me to Johnson, I think. Anyway, I was on a list. He had put me on a list of people who had inquired about something, asked about something. And so I hadn't heard from him for like years. And then I got an email from him that he had sent out to everybody who had been in touch earlier and said that he's doing an immersion program in Seoul for 10 days. And this is what he's planning. And first of all, I didn't have a job at the time. I mean, I had been doing a little bit of freelancing work, but I had not done a lot of work right before then. And I was like, I probably can't go to South Korea.
네.
And then, but I responded to the email immediately and said, I'd like more information. Oh yeah, he didn't actually send the brochure. He just said, I'm planning on doing this. If you're interested, let me know and I'll send you the information. And I was like, I don't think I could come, but I really want to hear more about this. And he responded back, and I saw the description of the program, and I was like, I really want to go. And so I slept on it for like one night, maybe 2 nights, and then I emailed him and said, how much?
네.
I'm coming. Book me. Book me in for the program.
그리고 올해도 온다고 했죠.
Yeah, this year I'm coming as well.
그랬구나. 직감이 이거는 꼭 해야 되겠다.
Yeah.
라고.
It felt like an experience that is really important, like something I haven't done before that I think will give me lots of information about how how I learn languages and what's important or not important for how I learn languages. So it just felt like super important for what I'm trying to figure out.
네. 근데 그래서 이게 두 번째 항목이잖아요.
Mm-hmm.
그 네 가지 중에 두 번째인데 거기서 좀 더 하는 이야기가 있어요?
No, I think there's not so much to say about it. Like,
그래요?
well, I think from the research, what he said that people who are lucky tend to be willing to follow their intuition more than people who are unlucky. And so I guess if you want more luck in your life, maybe think about whether or not you can check in with your gut sense a little bit more and follow that gut sense a little bit more.
그러니까 그 직감을 잘 따르는데 근데 그 직감이라는 게 가끔은 틀릴 때도 있잖아요.
Absolutely. But it'll give you a good experience.
그쵸?
Right. I mean, good, not necessarily good, but a different new experience. And I think more different experiences does tend to give you a better basis for luck. But that's an interesting thing. Like, you can make small bets and you can make big bets. Right?
네.
So, protect, what do they say? Protect your downside. When they're talking about if you're trying to decide whether or not to do something, find out what's the biggest risk. If there is no risk, then you can just do it.
네.
But if there is a risk, then you need to think, okay, well, what could I do to protect against that risk? So that you're not just sort of like going without thinking or without planning. You still need to be strategic and think about what can go wrong and make sure that you have minimized your chances of, injury or things going badly wrong.
네. 이 직감이라는 것 자체도 저는 얘기할 수 있는 게 되게 많다고 생각해요.
Yeah.
네.
Anything in particular you want to bring up before we move on?
대표적으로 요즘은 너무 그 트릭들이 고도화돼서
What does that mean?
그 트릭들의 수준이 고도화된다. 수준이 높아진다는 말이거든요.
Uh-huh.
그러니까 그 사기치는 사람들.
Oh, yeah.
아니면 컬트 종교, 사이비 종교.
Right.
그런 데서 하는 그 트릭의 수준이 너무 높아져서
Yeah.
그 당하는 피해자들의 겉 필링이 진짜 거기에 안 당하고는 못 베기게 엄청 그 겉 필링을 잘 끌어내는 나쁜 사람들이 있잖아요.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. And so how do you
네.
protect against it? Or like what could people do you think?
그건 저도 모르겠어요.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really interesting question. How do you balance following your gut feeling and not walking into the traps that
네.
are out there? Yeah.
근데 제가 잘 모르겠다고 하는 이유는 그런 사이비 컬트나 그 보이스피싱이나 그런 사람들이 진짜 직감이 막 완전 망가져서 막 계속 실수만 하는 사람이라거나
Yeah.
아니면 진짜 막 사리분간 못하는 바보라서가 아니라고 생각하거든요. 저는.
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of these
네.
scammers are just very, very good.
네,
what they do.
네.
Yeah.
그리고 거기에 당하는 사람들은 또 그럴 만한 어쩔 수 없는 이유가 있을 거라고 생각해요.
Yeah.
근데 저는 그때 그들의 겉필링이 거기 빠지면 안 돼라고 말하지 않을 것 같거든요.
Right.
네, 그렇지 않을까요?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have the answers.
네, 저도 모르겠어요.
Yeah.
그걸 다 알면은 다
I know, then we would be the luckiest people on
학교에서
earth, right?
가르치겠지.
Yeah.
아무튼 이거는 또 다른 너무 큰 주제니까.
Yeah.
네, 그러면
So should we move on to number 3?
네, 그렇게 넘어가죠.
Okay.
네.
So the third factor that Dr. Wiseman and his team found for that lucky people had and that unlucky people did not have was optimism.
오.
Yeah. Lucky people generally felt like things would work out.
네. 아, 근데 그거 진짜 꼭 필요해요.
Yeah. I think so
인생에서
too.
꼭 필요해요. 꼭 필요해요.
Yeah.
네.
Yeah. I think I used to not think optimism was as important as it is. Like I used to be a little bit skeptical of optimism because there's all of this like within the hippie world, people were blindly optimistic. And I think there's a difference between being blindly optimistic, the universe will give me everything I need, versus, well, I can do what is necessary to make the outcome better. It might not be perfect. I might not succeed, but I can do something to change my circumstances. I can do something to have this work out in a better way. So it's not like I think that the universe is going to come and serve up the perfect answer on a plate to me. Here, have $1 million or whatever it is. But I'm very optimistic about my ability to learn what I need to learn or make better choices or act in such a way that the situation will be okay. I think.
네. 그 25살 전에는 어땠어요? 그때도?
I was not optimistic before I was
그때는
25.
아니었고.
Yeah, I didn't. I was. I think I felt like a victim of the world. Like the world is happening to me, and I didn't feel like I had any way of controlling anything.
네.
It felt very out of control. Whereas at 25, I realized that, there are things here that I can control. And I think that really changed how I saw. I think I became much more optimistic.
저도 이 3번 항목에 대해서 언젠가부터 가지게 된 생각이 있는데, 이 낙관주의, 이런 좀 어떻게든 잘 될 거야 하는 생각, 그 미래가 더 좋아질 거야 이렇게 하는 이 낙관주의가 제 생각에는요, 이거는 생각에 달린 게 아닌 것 같아요. 제 생각에는 이거는 뭐 내가 어떻게 생각하느냐에 달린 게 아니고,
Right.
이거는 좀 감정과 마음의 영역인 것 같아요.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like,
그렇지 않아요?
I think that makes sense.
네.
It's not about thinking that the world is a better place, but feeling that I have more options, or feeling like there's something that I can do, or feeling in some way different,
네.
in some way more hopeful, probably.
네.
Yeah, I think you're right.
그쵸.
Yeah.
그래서 이거의 제 이 깨달음의 맹점이 뭐냐면, 이 나중에 잘 될 거야, 희망을 가져라고 상대방을 설득할 수 없는 거예요.
Right. But
네.
I'm sure there are so the researchers call it interventions. An intervention is a thing that you can do differently that will have a different result.
네.
And so there's probably a ton of research on things that you can do to feel more optimistic.
오.
Right?
네.
I mean, I don't know what they are. I haven't actually looked, but I'm pretty
그래요?
sure that's something that the psychologists would have looked. Actually, probably Wiseman's team looked at it. I can't remember from what I was reading.
근데 그게 지금 거기까지만 들어도 굉장히 저는 이해가 되는 게, 저도 그 생각하는 게 저의 마음을 바꾸지 않는다고 생각하거든요. 오히려
Yeah.
제가 어떤 행동들을 하면 그게 제 마음이랑 생각을 바꿔주는 때가 많더라고요.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I totally agree.
아, 그렇구나.
Yeah.
그쵸. 그렇게 느끼는구나.
Yeah, exactly.
네.
And I've actually experienced that. Like I feel a lot more optimistic now than I did even just a few years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. And I think the biggest difference is that I changed I try to achieve smaller but more specific things. Like I don't make big life goals. I mean, I guess I kind of do. It's like directionally, there are things that I want to achieve, but I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about them. But I'll have a small thing in my life that is annoying or hard, and I'll be like, I want to find some way to change that, to make that less annoying or make that work more smoothly. And just being able to focus on one small thing, it means that I achieve it quite quickly and easily because it's very narrow, like the focus is very small.
네.
And so it makes it possible to succeed. And so it means that I've been feeling all of these small successes,
네.
which means that I also feel like I am sort of in control. Like I can change things, I can achieve things because I keep doing it. All these small things, okay, they're not necessarily very big. Each one is quite small, but it does add up. It does mean that directionally, like I'm going in a direction and I am moving forward and things are changing.
그래서 저도 비슷하게요.
Yeah.
그 한때 제가 출근하는 뭐 직장도 없고 아르바이트도 없고 뭐 집에서 제 일만 하면 됐을 때 지금도 그렇고
Yeah.
그때요 한때는 일어나서 그 씻을 필요가 없을 때는 안 씻는 습관이 있었거든요. 샤워를 안 하는 거예요. 그냥 머리를 안 감고. 근데
I've been there.
네, 근데 그러면은 씻기 전까지 계속 뭔가 막 답답하고 뭔가 귀찮고 계속 그래요.
Yeah.
근데 그러다가 언젠가부터 이거 고쳐 먹어 이거 이러면 안 되겠다 싶어서
Yeah.
이제 일어나면 그 바로 샤워부터 하고,
Right.
예, 바로 그 뭐 방 정리하고,
Yeah.
그리고 또 밥 먹고 나면 바로 양치하고 설거지하고.
Right.
근데 그게 다르더라고요. 그 하루의 무드랑 그 생각이.
Yeah. Yeah, it can sound like a really small thing to
네.
like, oh, as soon as you're done eating, do the dishes or whatever it is. Like it can feel or it can sound really small, but the difference day to day, those things make a huge difference. Huge difference. So I could totally see.
네. 진짜 저는 막 무슨 인생을 바꾸기 위해 성공한 삶을 위해 그런 목적을 가지고 막 무슨 습관 만들기 이렇게 한 게 아니라
I just want to have a better day today.
네, 그냥
now.
제 기분이 다르더라고요. 기분이.
Exactly.
네,
Yeah.
그 느낌이 달라요.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The things that I've been trying to fix aren't big things. I'm not changing the world. I'm not saving anybody. I'm not working towards some huge ambition. I'm just trying to make my day to day that much better. Yeah. And it has a huge, huge effect. Like it really has changed. I feel so much more optimistic now than I did before I started doing that.
네, 맞아요.
Yeah.
네. 그래서 참고로 저는 그래서 요즘은 아침에 일어나면 샤워를 바로 하진 않고 요거트 조금 먹고
Right.
그 달리기를 합니다.
That's right. You mentioned that was a new habit that you started fairly recently, a year ago, maybe? A year and a half ago?
작년에요.
Last year, okay.
네. 그래서 작년에 또 엄청 많이 뛰고
Yeah.
그래서 요즘도 뛰는데
Yeah. Do you still do it like very regularly every day or do you also sometimes not?
거의 정기적으로 뛰어요. 근데 특별히 비가 오거나 몸이 안 좋지 않은 이상 몸이 안 좋은 날도 근데 드물어요. 그 그 전날 하체 운동을 한 날이 아니면 그러면 웬만하면 다 뛰어요.
Yeah.
네.
Yeah.
근데 그래서 그런지 모르겠는데 제가 아까 그 이 낙관주의, 이 낙천적인 그건 생각이 아니라 느낌 같다고 얘기했잖아요. 그 제가 지금 딱 그래요.
Right.
네, 제가 그 진짜 이게 진짜 그 설명하기 어려운 느낌이거든요.
Yeah.
그 잘 생각해 보면 제가 무슨 뭐 4대 보험 되는 연봉 높은 직장에 다니는 것도 아니고,
Right.
그리고 막 뭐 집이 부자인 것도 아니고, 제가 뭐 언제 아프면 드러누울지 모르고 드러누워서 막 뭐 인생이 망가질지 몰라요.
Right.
근데 그래도 나는 괜찮을 거야라는 이상한 그 느낌이 있어요.
Yeah. When do you think that started? Like, do you remember any specific time where that changed? 언제지 그게? 모르겠는데요? Yeah. It's hard to pinpoint, right?
네. 아니 이 수준이 그 정도가 좀 높은 적도 있고 낮은 적도 있긴 했는데,
Yeah.
이렇게 느끼는 게,
Yeah.
근데 한국어 선생님 그 자격증 따고 나서 그때부터인가 확실하진 않아요.
Yeah.
아니다. 알 것 같아요. 제가 예전에 친구랑 그 20대 중반에 그 모아둔 돈과 엄마한테 그 마지막 용돈을 크게 받아서 그걸로 식당을 차렸다가
Huh?
도저히 못하겠다 싶어서 그만둔 적이 있거든요.
Hang on. You started a restaurant with your friend?
네.
And
네. 근데
here's a story I didn't know about.
네. 근데 엄청 작은 가게였어요.
Yeah.
엄청 작은 가게고 그 손님이 와서 직접 먹을 수 있는 가게가 아니라 그 한국은 배달이 잘 되어 있으니까
That's right. Yeah.
네, 배달을 많이 하는 가게였는데
Okay.
그래서 제가 직접 오토바이 몰고 배달도 많이 했어요.
Right.
네, 근데 아무튼 그때 뭐 교통사고도 나보고 막 그렇게 막 힘든 기간을 보내다가
Yeah.
결국엔 그걸 그만하고 그 처분하고 그 친구랑 그 친구가 제 사정을 잘 생각해줘서 그 좀 돈을 많이 좀 돌려줬단 말이에요.
Right.
그래서 그 남은 돈으로 한 4개월인가 5개월 정도 한 지구를 한 반바퀴 정도는 돌았거든요. 배낭 메고.
Ah. Okay.
네, 그렇게 오랫동안 여행을 하고 그래도 20대 그러고 한국에 돌아왔는데.
Right. So when was this that you were backpacking? Was this late 20s?
네, 20대 25살이었나?
Okay. Yeah, so mid.
네, 25살 때쯤이었어요.
Yeah.
그러니까
And how long
한창
did you say you 4 or 5 months you were traveling around?
맞아요. 한 4, 5개월?
Yeah.
근데 한창 그때 막 친구들은 군대 끝내고 대학까지 졸업하고 막 회사 들어가거나
Right.
막 심지어 결혼하는 애도 있고.
Yeah.
근데 이상하게 여유롭더라고요.
Yeah.
뭔가 계속 그 막 여러 명이 달리는 그 달리기 트랙에서 막 그 어릴 때부터 뛰어오다가
Uh-huh.
한번 트랙 바깥으로 굴러 넘어져서 정신 차리고 보니까 너무 마음이 편한 거예요.
Ah. And so that's the moment where you feel like it changed?
네,
Yeah.
그런 것
That
같아요.
makes a lot of sense.
네,
Yeah.
저는 막 그렇게 되면 진짜 인생 망하고 막 패배자 되고.
And yet so much
집에-
better.
그렇죠. 엄청 잘 됐죠.
Yeah.
생각보다 그때 걱정보다.
Yeah.
음.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
네, 아유, 개인적인 이야기를 많이 하게 되는 에피소드입니다.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. This is fun. So this actually brings me to the fourth factor that the Wiseman team identified, and that's resilience. You were saying that the when you started the restaurant, you experienced a lot of difficult times.
네.
And so resilience in English is when somebody goes through a difficult time and comes out of it more easily, or comes out of it and is okay. And so it's tolerating difficult times, and sometimes even thriving because of them, like taking the learnings that they get in the difficult times and then using that for whatever next things that they do. And so it sounds like you were pretty resilient coming out of that, I guess, failed business attempt when the restaurant closed down, and then taking that money and traveling around the world and sort of discovering all these other things and realizing that you were quite happy on the outside of the system, off piste, as they say, off road,
off track,
or off the main off track. Well, off track sounds like it's a train that's running on a track and now you've derailed, and so that's not as good.
그거 좀 아니네요. 네.
But like when you're riding a bike on the smooth road versus then going off onto a different trail, that's sort of a different thing. You're no longer on the same track as everybody else. You're off doing something different.
네.
Yeah.
네, 아무튼 그 resilience는 한국어로 뭐라 하는지 알아요, 혹시?
I have no idea.
한국어로는 회복 탄력성이라고 하거든요. 회복.
Okay. Recovery,
탄력성.
and so 력 again is the skill, like the strength or skill.
그 탄력이 왜 그 고무줄 같은 거 있잖아요.
Oh, yeah.
고무줄 같은 거 당겼다가 놓으면 탁 돌아오잖아요.
Right.
네, 그게 탄력이에요.
Oh,
원래대로
okay. Yes,
원래대로
elasticity,
돌아오는.
I think we would say.
네네네네.
Yeah.
원래대로 돌아오는 능력.
Nice. Yeah.
네.
Yeah, that's a great word.
네, 제 생각엔 그 일부러 resilience라는 영어를 그 한국어로 부르려고 만든 단어인 느낌이 들어요.
Yeah.
제 개인적인 느낌은. 네.
Feels very Korean. Like it's good.
네.
It expresses it really well.
그렇죠.
Yeah.
아무튼 그래서 회복 탄력성. 그래서 카트리나는 어때요? 경험이 있어요?
Yeah. So I failed out of this. I mean, I kept failing until I was 25, and I wasn't very, I don't know if I was resilient or not. I wasn't very happy, that's for sure. But I feel like after I decided to go to university and just get a regular degree and a regular job and not be anything amazing, my resilience shot up. Like I got much, much more resilient. And so when things were hard, I think in the process of deciding that I could just go to university, I could just study something normal.
네.
I hadn't done a lot of math and physics in high school.
네.
And then I had to take exams in math and physics and chemistry in order to get into a regular like science degree at university. And so I spent 18 months just studying on my own and taking exams. And I realized through that process that it's not actually, you don't need talent. You just need to sit down and do the work. You just need to, if it's hard, it's not because you're dumb, and it's not because it's too hard. It's not like, it's just beginner. I mean, first year university math.
네.
So just slow down and take the steps, figure out what it is you're not understanding. And so I think through that process, I learned again that I can do things to improve my situation. I can actively do things. And And so I think that that helped a lot with my resilience is when things were hard or when things happened that weren't planned and that were really tough,
네.
I was able to take a step back and think, well, what can I do? Okay, I can't do that thing, clearly, but I can do something else. What can I do? And I think that helped a lot. I'm a lot more resilient now than I was at 25.
아, 그러면 카트리나도 그런 경험들을 통해서 그 회복 탄력성이 올라간 거라고
I feel
생각을 하네요.
Yeah, I feel like it did improve.
아, 근데 저도 저도 그 얘기를 하려고 비슷한 얘기를 하려고 했는데
Yeah.
그 제가 식당 그만둔 거 전에도 그리고 그 이후에도 사실 그 수많은 실패를 저도 경험을 해서
I feel like my whole life up to the age of 25 is just one failure after the other. And then from 25 to 35, it's me learning how to sort of take charge. And by 35, I was pretty happy. Like I was pretty happy with where I was in life and what I was doing, and I felt like I was achieving things and learning new things. Yeah.
저도 그런 비슷한 시기에 있는 것 같은데요.
Yeah.
근데 어떤 생각이 드냐면 저는 당연히 뭔가 실패하고 뭐 말아먹으면 다시 뭐 다른 거 해보거나 아니면 이거를 좀 더 잘해보거나 그렇게 해야지라는 생각이 있는데 근데 한편으로 그래 이것도 망할 수 있어 이런 생각을 계속 해요.
Yeah, it's true.
네.
You know? Yeah.
근데 제가 아까 얘기했잖아요. 제가 낙관적인 그 느낌이 있다고. 근데 그게 그 느낌이 그러니까 지금 하는 이 일이 뭐 어떻게든 잘 될 거야가 아니라 그래 뭐 이것도 망할 수도 있어.
Yeah.
근데 뭐 어쨌든 그러면 더 좋은 거 해서 잘 될 거야 이런 느낌이거든요.
That's how I feel as well. Like
그래요?
what I'm working on, yeah, it might totally fail. That's okay. Like there's so many things I can do. There are endless things that I could focus on, and something's very likely to work if you just keep going and keep trying and keep experimenting. Very, very likely, like you will find a path that actually goes somewhere. I
네.
think. Yeah.
근데 그 회복 탄력성을 기르는 유일한 방법이 그러면 실패를 하는 거잖아요. 그렇지 않을까요?
You have a point.
네, 회복 탄력성이라는 것 자체가
Yeah.
뭔가
Something has to go wrong for you to actually be resilient.
그러니까 뭔가 잘못된 다음에 회복하는 건데
Yeah.
그러려면 회복해야 하는 안 좋은 상태로 떨어져야 하잖아요.
Yeah. But don't you think everybody, like bad things happen to everybody? So everybody has the chance to develop resilience?
저는 저는 그걸 모르겠어요, 사실 잘. 저는 다른 사람들의 인생이 어떤지 잘 모르겠거든요.
Yeah, I don't either, really.
네.
Yeah.
그러니까 뭐 가끔 보면 뭐 어떤 사람들은 진짜 힘든 삶을 사는 것 같은 사람들이 있긴 해요.
Oh, there are absolutely people who have way harder, tougher challenges to go through than anything I've ever experienced. That's for sure.
네.
Yeah.
그리고 저도 진짜 저라서가 아니라 진짜 객관적으로 가만히 이제 저 자신을 돌아보고 제 인생을 돌아봤을 때 제 인생도 뭐 보통의 평범한 삶보다는 좀 더 많이 좀 운이 나쁘고 좀 힘들었다고 생각을 하거든요. 근데 이것도 저의 착각일 수도 있다는 생각이 들기도 하고.
Yeah.
또 누군가가 보기에는 저의 지난 삶이 너무나 부러울 수도 있고.
And probably there are people
그렇죠.
who look at your life and are.
네, 네. 근데 또 반면에
envious.
또 제가 이렇게 생각하는 와중에 저는 진짜 불행한 사람일 수도 있는 거고.
Yeah.
그건 모르겠어요. 그건.
Yeah.
네.
Yeah, I don't know.
근데 아무튼 네, 카트리나 말은 사람들이 다 그 힘든 그게 있죠.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think that everybody goes through tough times, and people from the outside, they can look like they're the luckiest people in the world, and they're still going to have tough times. You might just not see what they're going through.
맞아요. 근데 그 어떤 일을 겪는지 모른다고 했잖아요. 근데 그 어떤 일을 겪는지 모를 그 일이 뭐 예를 들어 자기가 그 외적인 것에 자신감이 없어서 막 몸을 막 멋지게 만들고 싶은데 막 그게 너무 안 돼서 막 힘든 시간을 보내고 있는 거랑 지금 엄마 아빠는 몸이 아프셔서 들어 누웠고 막 당장 다음 달 월세랑 막 밥값 벌어야 되는데 막 이 일은 난 회사에서 나는 잘릴 것 같고 막 이런 그 문제랑 그 수준이 다르잖아요.
Right. But I think it's how you experience it.
네.
Like even if the degree, like objectively the degree of how bad it is different, I think the whether or not you're resilient is how you're experiencing it. Like it might feel like a terrible, terrible thing to you, even though it's comparatively small compared to what someone else is going through. But if you're able to bounce back from it, like even if you feel it very, very deeply, you're able to bounce back from it, then maybe you'll be okay. Yeah. Dr. Wiseman was saying that one of the people he had interviewed during his research came in with his leg in a cast. He had, between the first interview and the second interview, he had broken his leg. And so in the first interview, he had said, "Oh, I'm so lucky." Like he had been talking about how lucky he is. And so the second time he comes in and he has his foot in a cast, his leg was broken. And Wiseman was saying, "Oh, maybe this time you don't feel as lucky." He was like, "Oh no, like when I was younger, I can't remember why, but he had to go to the hospital. He broke something or was very sick, and one of the nurses." They fell in love and now they're married. And so, like, you never know, even though something seems like a bad thing, there are all these other things that come out of it. So he didn't feel like breaking his leg was bad luck because you never know what is going to happen.
그렇구나. 하긴, 그쵸. 그러니까, 이게, 아까, 세 번째에서 했던 얘기가 좀 연장이 되는 것 같은데, 그러니까 이것도 감정의 영역인 것 같아요. 느낌의 영역. 네, 그러니까 저는 당연하게 생각하는 그 생각들과 당연하게 뭐가 잘 안 됐을 때 다음 스텝을 찾고 대안을 찾는 걸 그냥 당연하게 하잖아요.
Right.
근데 그게 안 되는 사람도 있구나.
Right.
싶어요.
Yeah. Yeah, it feels like his whole attitude was fundamentally different. Like it's not a bad thing happened and then he recovered. It was like, well, it wasn't even really all that bad. Yeah.
근데 아무튼 그게 운에 중요한 영향을 끼친다는 거죠.
Right.
그러면은 운이 좋은 것 같다고 응답한 그 실험 참가자들이요. 어떤 좀 추이가 보였나요? 좀 연령대가 높다던가.
What does that mean? 연구를 하면서
어떤 사람들은 자기가 운이 좋다고 하고 어떤 사람들은 운이 나쁘다고 했잖아요. 그러면 그 운이 좋다고 한 사람들 간에 어떤 비슷한 점이나
Yeah.
뭐 그런 게 좀 그 이런 뭐 겉필링이 뭐 좋고 뭐 겉필링을 따르고 이런 거 말고 뭐 나이대가 비슷하다거나 뭐 직업이
It was all
비슷하다거나 그런 게 아니에요?
all different. All different. These were the four things that they found that were similar. And of course, a lot of the research that they did was, okay, now that we know what factors are there, like the flexibilities to see and take opportunities, the intuition, the optimism, and the resilience. Now that, well, when they discovered that those were the factors, those were the similarities. There were no other similarities like age and what jobs they did and like what part of society they were from, how much money they had. They didn't see any similarities other than these four things from what I read anyway. And so a lot of the research that they did was like, okay, now what can we do so that those four things change so that you get more resilient, more optimistic, are more able to rely on your intuition, or are more flexible and open to new opportunities and experiences.
그렇구나. 아, 저는 왜 이걸 물어봤냐면 지금의 카트리나랑 24살의 카트리나가 그 연구에 참여했으면 서로 대답이 달랐을 것 같고.
Oh yeah.
그리고
Definitely.
네, 저도 20대 초반에 저와 지금의
Yeah.
제가 그 연구의 응답을 다르게 할 것 같거든요.
Yeah.
근데 우리가 방금 얘기한 이 네 가지 요소 중에 많은 게 좀 사람의 경험을 통한 성장과 깨달음 이런 거를 통해서 좀 높아질 수 있는 것 같거든요.
Absolutely.
네, 뭐 어떤 거는 아닐 수도 있겠지만 아무튼
Yeah.
그래서 그렇게 보면 나이가 많을수록 좀 더 긍정적으로 대답을 할 수도 있지 않을까 생각이 들었어요.
Yeah. Maybe to a degree. Like I think if you're looking at the same population, the same 100 people 20 years ago and the same 100 people like 20 years later, then maybe you would see that their luck had improved somewhat. But I think that there are a lot of people who don't necessarily become more resilient. Like I've definitely met people who are quite stuck. Like they'll, it's the
맞죠.
same story 10 years later and we're still, hearing the same
맞아요.
things over and over. Yeah.
주변에 꼭 한 명씩 있죠. 그렇죠. 아, 여기서 제가 착각을 한 이유를 하나 방금 짧게 깨달은 것 같은데.
Oh.
네, 제가 그 리질리언스나 이런 게 뭐 성장한다고 했잖아요.
Right.
근데 사실은 누구나 성장하지는 않을 수 있는데 카트리나 말처럼.
Yeah, I think so.
근데 예를 들어 학교 다니는 학생들은 저랑 아무리 안 맞는 학생들이라도 같은 반에 있으면 맨날 보잖아요. 아무리 저와 다른 사람이라도.
Right.
근데 나이를 먹어가며 생활을 함에 따라 아니다 싶은 사람들은 아예 안 보게 되니까.
Yeah.
그런 사람들이 제 눈에서 벗어나서 눈 밖으로 벗어나서 그냥 제 남은 사람들만 보고
Yeah.
아, 그냥 사람들은 다 나이가 먹으면서 이렇게 성장하는구나 이렇게 느낀 것 같아요.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? Because you would naturally surround yourself with people who sort of support the kind of life that you want or support the kind of way of thinking that makes sense for you. And
네.
so you're probably going to have a lot of people around you who think about how to improve their lives or how to change something about their habits or try new things or are willing to live outside of the normal track the way
네.
you are as well.
네.
Yeah.
그렇습니다. 아무튼 그래서 리처드 와이즈만 교수님.
Yep.
네네, 리처드 와이즈만. 근데 이거는 이 연구에 대한 책이나 뭐 그런 글 같은 게 따로 있으면 좀 시간을 내서 읽어봐도 좋을 것 같아요.
So he wrote 12 different books and one of them is from like 2003 or 2004 and it's called
네.
The Luck Factor. And so it's about his research on luck. Yeah.
좋습니다. 운. 그 또 그 운이라는 거에 대해 좀 카트리나 개인적으로 좀 생각을 많이 했던 것들이나 그런 또 얘기할 만한 게 남아 있나요?
No, I think I'm done. I think we covered it. How about you? Anything else you wanted to touch on?
저는 운은 분명히 사람마다 타고나는 게 다르다고 다른 부분이 있다고 생각하는데 근데 분명히 운은 아니다. 제가 되게 좋아하는 그 제 한국어 팟캐스트의 구독자분이 계신데 그 한국어 공부를 되게 열심히 하는 독일 청년이 한 명 있는데 근데 그 친구가 자기 한국어 막 연습해서 올리는 개인 유튜브 채널에 그 뭐 성공하는 건 운이 중요할까요? 노력이 중요할까요? 이런 거에 대해서 그 자기가 막 생각한 거를 막 혼자서 막 한국어로 막 얘기를 한 영상이 있어요. 네, 그 인생의 성공, 그 운이 더 중요할까, 노력이 더 중요할까? 네, 근데 그래서 자기 생각을 막 그렇게 얘기했는데 저도 그 질문을 보고 좀 고민을 한 끝에 답을 내렸거든요. 많이들 운이 굉장히 중요하다고 요즘 사람들이 얘기를 하는데 네, 저도 동의해요. 분명히 자기 노력을 뛰어넘는 타고난 재능과 뭐 그 인맥 주위의 사람들과 뭐 그런 환경에 그 운이 따라줘야 그 잘 되기 더 쉬운데 근데 분명한 건 노력함에 따라 운도 늘어날 수 있다고 생각하거든요.
Yeah.
네. 그것도 그 자기랑 상관없는 운도 막 생길 수도 있고.
Yep.
네.
Yeah. And it feels like, well, if you can't necessarily control the luck that you're born with, but if you just do the things that you can do, then you'll be in a better place than you would have been if you didn't do those things. So
그렇죠.
I guess focus on the things that you can focus on and then gladly accept any luck that comes your way.
네.
Yeah.
네. 그러니까 제가 아마 지난 영상에는 제가 편집해서 안 넣었을 내용일 텐데 아마 저는 이 유튜브 하고 지금 또 이 한국어 영어 팟캐스트까지 하면서 진짜 제가 뭐 운이 뭐 좋기도 하고 신기하다고 생각하거든요.
Really?
제가 몇 년 전부터 뭐 갑자기 혼자 외국인들 보라고 한국어 공부하는 영상을 막 올렸는데
Yeah.
그 결과가 뭐 카트리나 같은 실력 있는 개발자나 아니면
Especially Jeep.
네 그러니까요 뭐 지프 같은 밸브에서 일했던 포탈 개발한 사람이나 뭐 그런 사람들이랑 제가 아는 사람이 됐잖아요.
That's right.
근데 분명히 이거를 보시는 분들 중에 개발자분들이 좀 계실 텐데 그 초기에 그 지프가 나와서 그 지프 아는 개발자 한국 분들이 그 구독을 해주셔서
Right.
분명히 그분들은 제가 진짜 신기할 것 같아요.
Yeah.
난 프로그래머 난 경험 하나도 없고 나 부트캠프 6개월 다녔는데
Right.
근데 팟캐스트는 기터브 출신에 20년차 개발자님과 강연 같은 거 하시는 분이랑
Right.
그리고 막 포탈 개발한 사람이랑 막 매주 막 뭐 하고 있고
Yeah.
네, 이건 굉장한 운 아닐까요 이건?
Yeah.
네, 엄청난 운이죠.
Definitely.
네.
And that's how I feel about my career, actually. It's like I just started programming, but then all of these things happened and I met all of these amazing, interesting people and got so many opportunities because of the people that I met. And like suddenly I'd be at some conference eating breakfast at a table where everybody at the table except me had published, best-selling programming books or something. Like it was like, how am I in this place right now with these people?
네.
It's kind of amazing.
근데 이것도 궁금한데 제가 그 아까의 얘기에서 연장으로 하나 더 나누고 싶었던 내용이 있는데 결국에는 제가 막 이런 사람들을 알게 되고 막 무슨 뭐 바다 건너 여러 나라의 사람들한테 사랑을 받고 있잖아요, 제가.
Yeah.
근데 그렇게 된 이유가 일단 뭐라도 했기 때문이고.
Right.
네, 뭐라도 해야
Yeah.
이런 기회가 생기고 운이 늘어나게 된 건데. 근데 여기서 저의 경험을 돌아보면서 더 느끼는 건 좀 특이한 걸 할수록 좋은 것 같아요.
So what do you mean?
좀 특이한 거. 그러니까
Yeah, like particular, like unique in that type, in
네,
that
네.
sense?
네,
Yeah.
왜냐면 저 말고도 한국어 학습 유튜버는 많거든요.
Ah, yeah. Yes, and.
네,
Yeah.
근데 제가 제 컨텐츠 고민해서 만들 때 비슷한 걸 하는
네.
사람들이 많이 없었어요. 거의 없었어요.
I agree.
네.
Yeah.
만약에 제가 똑같이 그냥 그 다른 사람들 원래 많은 사람들이 하던 스타일의 똑같은 한국어 교육 학습 컨텐츠를 만들었다면
Yeah.
제가 얻은 이런 운과 좋은 기회들은 없었을 것 같아요.
I would agree with that.
네.
Like, you wouldn't be any. Like, now you would have to compete. Now you would absolutely have to be better looking than all the other ones.
그렇죠.
Right?
네. 너무 힘들어. 네, 아무튼.
Yeah. But because what you're doing is very different and like you developed your style over time over the course of several years, you were playing all of these games and you developed your way of doing it into something that is unique. You speak very naturally. Like that's probably the thing that I appreciated first about your channel is like a lot of the other learn to speak Korean channels, they speak very unnaturally, very slowly. They enunciate very clearly, which can be useful at times, but it felt very unnatural. Or it would be the structure of it would be like 5 phrases, 5 ways to ask for, to order what you want at a restaurant, or like, whereas what you have is very, very different. And so people who appreciate that style and want what you're producing, of course they're going to flock to your channel.
네, 그렇죠.
Yeah. You don't have to be better looking than all the other ones for that to happen.
네. 그래서 결국에는 좀 다른 사람들 모두가 하는 거랑 다른 걸 만들려고 했고 그리고 또 제가 맞다고 생각하고 좀 열심히 하고 싶은 걸 한 거거든요.
Yeah.
근데 그 아까 물어보고 싶다고 한 게 카트리나도 그 지난 에피소드에서 그 미덥 같은데 가가지고 아니다 그 한번 컨퍼런스에 갔다고 했었나? 그때 가서 카트리나가 막 되게 막 그때 막 엄청 열심히 뭔가를 하던 걸 막 사람들한테 보여줬다고 했잖아요.
Right.
카트리나도 좀 그런 요소가 있다고 생각해요?
Yeah. I think it's the combination of starting before I was ready, like deciding that there's something that I want to do and just starting to try to do it and then learning along the way, but then really working hard at doing it well. Right?
네.
Yeah.
그러니까
Did I misunderstand you?
그러니까
Maybe?
그때 카트리나가 그때 카트리나가 막 사람들한테 막 얘기를 하고
Mm-hmm.
그 막 보여줬던 그 카트리나의 그 작업이
Mm-hmm.
뭐 간단하게 얘기해서 다른 사람들도 다 하는 거였는지 아니면
No,
딱 그
it wasn't.
카트리나의 캐릭터가 있는 거였는지 그런 거는요?
It was definitely something that was unique to me. It's not that nobody else did this, but I did it in a particular way, and I did it very. So it's a type of activity that you do when you're programming, like when your code is really complicated and messy, and then you change the code to be easier to understand,
네.
but without changing what it does. So it's a type of process that I read a book about how to do this, and then I practiced a lot, and it made me feel really good. It's like if your desk is really messy
네.
and you clean everything up and you're like, now I feel like I can think again. That was how I felt about the code. And so for a long time, every day at work, I would come in early and I would do just a little bit of this in the code base, not because I had to, just because it made me feel good.
네.
But that meant that I got a lot better at it. And then other programmers also really enjoyed seeing code that was like an example of code that was really messy
네.
and then had been turned into something that was easy to understand. It was very pleasing. Like it felt really good to watch. And so it was something that I had done a lot and in a way that other people didn't do it. And so
오.
when I started showing it to people, they found it kind of, I guess, neat or interesting, or like it wasn't something they had seen in that way before. And so it was something that they were interested in seeing more of. Yeah.
그러면 제가 얘기한 거랑 거의 일치하네요.
Yeah.
그 하나는 많은 사람들이 안 하는 거. 그리고 하나는 카트리나가 개인적으로 되게 하고 싶어 했던 거.
Yeah.
그거네요.
Yeah. And also definitely like developing my own style of it, the same way
그쵸,
that you
그쵸,
did with
그쵸.
your videos. Yeah.
그게 중요한 것 같아요.
I think so.
예. 딱 그 자기만의 그 뾰족한 창이 있어야 돼요.
Yeah.
예.
Yeah, because if you're competing against everyone else
네.
in the same space, like how are you going to win? Now it's just pure luck. Like if
그쵸.
you're competing, if you're finding something that's different and interesting and not competing with everyone else, okay, you need a little bit of luck, but also like you're not competing against the whole world in that sense.
네,
It
네.
makes it easier.
맞습니다. 좋네요.
All right.
네. 그러면 이번 에피소드는 한 1시간 반 정도를 얘기를 했는데.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
네, 근데 뭐
Are you going to be able to cut it down to an hour?
아니요. 한 달에 한 번 나오는데.
Okay.
한 달에 한 번 나오시는 분인데 좀 뭐 1시간 반이든 2시간이든 뭐 괜찮지 않나요?
Okay, we'll see.
아쉽잖아요. 그러면 네. 네, 그러면 뭐 이번 시간은 그럼 이 정도에서 마무리할까요?
Yeah, let's call it.
네,
Call it a
좋습니다.
day.
네. 뭐 아직 그 저의 한국어 콘텐츠와 뭐 이런 거에 여정이 끝나지 않아서 뭐 제가 뭐 운이 좋다 안 좋다 뭐 이렇게 아직 단정지어 얘기는 못 하겠지만 네, 그래도 네, 뭐라도 하니까 운이 좀 더 늘어나는 것 같긴 합니다. 그리고 네, 그 카트리나가 제 완전 그 유튜브 초기에 그 저한테 메일을 보내주고 좋은 댓글을 달아주고 했던 게 굉장히 진짜 그냥 하는 말이 아니라 진짜 큰 도움이 됐어요.
Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so
네.
glad. Like it cost me nothing. I was very excited to see what you were working on, and so it didn't cost me anything to encourage other people to also enjoy it and leave the occasional comment.
네, 그래서 네, 제가 진짜 감사하고요. 네, 그걸 계기로 제 인생에 더 많은 운과 큰 운들이 찾아왔습니다. 그래서 감사합니다. 그러면 뭐 여기서 마무리하겠습니다.
Sorry. Yes. Yes.
네.
Thank you so much for listening. This was really fun. It was fun to hear about how your look has grown and the struggles that you've gone through to get to where you are now. And if any of you who are listening have thoughts about whether you are lucky or unlucky or have become luckier, it would be fun to hear your stories as well. So
네.
please let us know.
네. 그리고 제가 영상 후반에 얘기했던 그 인생에서 노력이 더 중요한가, 운이 더 중요한가 이 문제도 진짜 역사가 깊은 토론인 것 같아요. 문제인 것 같아요.
Yeah.
그래서 여러분들 생각도 궁금하니까 남겨주시면 좋겠습니다. 네.
That's right.
네. 좋습니다. 그러면 카트리나는 또 9월에 돌아오겠습니다. 네, 또 재미있고 유익한 내용으로 돌아올 테니 네, 많이 기다려 주시고요. 더 열심히 하겠습니다. 자, 그러면 지금까지 한국어 영어 반론 팟캐스트 하프앤하프의 정태웅이었습니다. 감사합니다.
And I'm Katrina, and you've been listening to Half and Half. Thank you. Bye-bye.